Get ready to see the most unusual and rare historical photos with an interesting story. I will be glad. The first performance of the Beatles with Ringo Starr as a drummer was on August 22, 1962. 2 years earlier, Lennon, McCartney and Harrison participated in the recording of the CD of the band Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, whose drummer played several songs with them. Later, this musician, who turned out to be Starr, joined the legendary Four as a permanent drummer. The first McDonald's restaurant in San Bernardino, 1948. In the beginning, branded burgers were sold for 15 cents apiece. Soon, when customers purchased a total of hundreds of thousands of hamburgers, the restaurant owners abandoned the idea of counting them. The first public Jewish religious service held in Germany since Hitler came to power. The service was carried out by the American military during the Battle of Aachen, 1944. Jimi Hendrix burns his guitar for the first time, 1957. The guitar, which he would burn 10 years later, in 1967, was recently sold at auction for $380,000. Jim Henson makes the first Kermit the Frog doll, 1950s. The famous frog was made from Henson's mother's green coat and 2 ping-pong balls. His creator voiced the green hero until the end of his days. Meanwhile, the charming frog has accumulated nominations for the real Golden Globe and Oscar Awards over the years of his fame. The first flight of the Wright brothers. The photo was taken to prove the fait accompli of the famous brothers, 1903. The sons of a poor priest, Orville and Wilbur, were inspired by the conquest of the air element in childhood, when their father brought them a simple, but still flying toy helicopter powered by rubber. It is said that it is in this photo that Glenn Berkes and Dusty Baker, Los Angeles Dodgers players, do what would later be called high five. For the first time, October 2, 1977. Hannah Stilley, born in 1746. Photos from the 1840s. This woman is the longest-born person captured on film. Sally Holterman, the first woman to get a motorcycle license in Washington, 1937. She was only 27 years old at the time, but she was immediately given the nickname Motorcycle Mom. Howard Carter and a group of his assistants are the first people in several thousand years to see the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, January 3, 1924. 22 people, the members of this expedition, as well as their relatives, subsequently died suddenly, giving a fruitful basis for the legends about the curse of the pharaohs. The first published photograph of the presidential inauguration, taken in 1857 during the solemn oath of James Buchanan. Madam C.J. Walker is the first woman to make $1 million fortune through her own efforts. Born into a large family of slave parents, orphaned as a child, and left a widow with a child in her arms at the age of 20, the determined black girl was able not only to survive, but also to succeed, moving step by step from a career as a hairdresser to owning her own cosmetics factory. Photo of the first modern Olympic Games, Athens, 1896. There was no tradition of lighting the Olympic flame at these games, and medals were not yet an attribute of victory either. In addition, there were no women among the 241 participants in the games, as they were not allowed to participate in such events at that time. The first public demonstration of a bikini, Paris, 1946. No professional model dared to walk in public in the smallest swimsuit in the world. The creator of the bikini, Louis Reard, had to hire a 19-year-old stripper, Michelle Bernardini, for this purpose. Subsequently, the girl received more than 50,000 enthusiastic letters from fans. Otto Lilienthal makes the first successful glider flight in the history of mankind, 1894. To create an ideal airframe configuration, the talented test pilot wrote many research papers in his lifetime, which accurately described the flight of birds, especially storks, in terms of the aerodynamics of their wings. Installation of the first neon sign in Las Vegas, 1941. Since 1996, a real neon museum has been opened in the city of eternal entertainment, where you can learn about the history of bright signs and signs that have decorated the streets for decades. Sputnik 1, the first satellite launched into space by the Soviet Union, 1957. The launch was carried out from the Tyura-Tam test site, which later became world famous as the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Queen Elizabeth II records her first Christmas address to her subjects in a television format, 1957. In her speech, she mentioned the importance and benefits of modern technology. The very first Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center, 1931. This famous Christmas tree, which has been regularly installed in Manhattan for more than 80 years, is a kind of integral symbol of Christmas for Americans. The first such tree was a fir tree decorated with cranberries, paper garlands, and tin cans. A dice from an ancient Korean alcoholic game, circa 750 AD, Gyeongju State Museum. Tasks are engraved on the cube, for example, drink up and dance, or sing a song. A set of mock-ups of Heinz pickled cucumbers from about 1905, which were used by sellers to show potential buyers the size and quantity of pickles in barrels. Heinz was founded in 1869, and since then has successfully sold ketchups, sauces, and pickles. As part of a secret U.S. intelligence operation called Paperclip, 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were trafficked from former Nazi Germany between 1945 and 1959 to work for the U.S. government. Bodybuilders before the invention of sports supplements and steroids, 1890 to 1910. In the central photo in the collage, you can see Yevgeny Sandov, real name Friedrich Müller, who is considered the founder of bodybuilding. After gaining fame, he moved to the United States, where he earned a lot of money selling sports equipment, as well as training and nutrition programs. During archaeological work before the construction of the railway in Istanbul, a pair of women's sandals, which are about 1,500 years old, was found. There is an inscription on the sole in ancient Greek: "Use it for your health, lady, wear it in beauty and happiness." The British Museum has a limestone tablet, Ostrakhan, dating back to 1250 BC. 40 people and the reasons for their absence from work are written in red and black ink in hieratic script. Among them are such recordings as "Embalmed Brother," "Brewed Beer," and "He was bitten by a scorpion." In 2004, archaeologists found a Gallic bronze helmet in the shape of a swan during excavations in Tintignac, in southern France. The headdress, dating from the 1st century BC, probably belonged to a rich and high-ranking man. Although it reliably protected the head and ears, it was most likely used only in ceremonies. Sourdough bread is unlikely to be associated with historical artifacts. The Herculaneum muffin was baked shortly before the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD and was discovered in 1930 during excavations. Currently, the find is kept in the National Archaeological Museum in Naples. The Roman dodecahedron is a mysterious artifact first found in 1739. More than 130 similar copper alloy figures with 12 faces have been discovered in Europe, but their purpose remains unknown. In 2014, archaeologists found a lone wooden ski on Norway's Djurgården mountain. 7 years later, in 2021, the second one was found. Both skis, created by hand more than 1,300 years ago, are unique. Each has its own history of wear and repair. Giant geoglyphs in Peru were created more than 2,000 years ago by representatives of the Nazca culture. The drawings stretch for kilometers and represent geometric shapes, straight lines, plants, and animals. Since their discovery in the 1920s, the meaning of the images has remained a mystery. Scientists believe that they could have been created for astronomical purposes or religious rituals. The pyramidion, top stone of the Pyramid of Amenemhat III in Dahshur, Egypt, created around 1850 BC, was extracted from the sand in 1900. The black granite stone was completely covered with hieroglyphic writing. It is now on display at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. In 2018, archaeologists found an ancient 15th century jug in the residence of a samurai in the northern part of Tokyo. It was filled with bronze coins from different regions and eras. The vessel was found in the samurai's residence. How and why the jug was buried is still a mystery. Researchers from the Gursu project have found more than 200 tablets in southern Iraq. They date back to the 3rd millennium BC and are written in cuneiform, an ancient Near Eastern writing system. The tablets describe in detail all aspects of the life of the Sumerians: the names of people, their roles, social relations, drawings, and maps. In 1901, a mechanism was discovered among the wreckage of a sunken ship off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera. The device dates back to about the second half of the 2nd century BC. It was used to calculate the motion of celestial bodies and determine the dates of 42 astronomical events. In 1898, during the excavation of one of the burial grounds of Saqqara, a figurine made of a sycamore tree was found. The bird dates back to 200 BC and has a wingspan of 18 centimeters. Possible uses range from ceremonial objects to toys. According to another hypothesis, This is a model of an airplane, but there is insufficient evidence in favor of this theory. In Norway, locals found an ancient sword while hunting deer. Scientists believe that the weapons were well preserved due to the cold, dry climate. The Viking probably lost it more than 1,100 years ago when he was walking over rough terrain during a snowstorm. The Wilder brothers found an obsidian blade after an earthquake in Northern California. According to legend, the indigenous Karuk tribe used such items in ceremonies. In 1867, Russia ceded Alaska to the United States in a deal that surprised many. Soon after the sale, rich deposits of resources such as oil, gas, and gold were discovered in Alaska. On December 7, 1941, Japanese aircraft and submarines attacked the American base at Pearl Harbor. Japan concentrated its fire mainly on battleships, ignoring repair yards, fuel depots, and aircraft carriers. After the attack, the United States deployed resources to repair the damaged ships. As tensions rose, they used aircraft carriers and submarines to consolidate their naval supremacy. There were no binoculars on the Titanic. In 1912, the Titanic collided with an iceberg and sank. The tragedy claimed the lives of more than 1,500 people. Before sailing, Captain's mate David Blair was transferred to another position, and he left the ship with the key to the safe where the binoculars were kept. That's probably why Captain Edward John Smith couldn't spot the iceberg in time. A 2,000-year-old gold ring with a 3D portrait was found in an ancient Roman tomb. The product belonged to Abutia Quarta, and her late son Titus Carvilius Gemello is depicted. In 1963, a routine renovation of a house in Turkey led to the discovery of the ancient underground city of Derinkuyu. It was built in the 2I millennium BC and served as a shelter from enemies. In Thailand, locals believe that this stone formation used to be a giant snake. According to them, she once crawled on the ground, but turned into stone millions of years ago. Library of Celsus in Ephesus, Turkey. It was built in the period from 114 to 135 in honor of Tiberius Julius Celsus, the Roman proconsul of the Asiatic province of Rome. A 4,000-year-old carriage made of oak wood was discovered in the village of Elchashan near Lake Sevan, Armenia. 6th century stone mosaic discovered in Antakya, Turkey. 1,200 square meters of geometric shapes and non-repeating shapes. The Sumerian planisphere is 5,500 years old. The star map was discovered in the underground library of King Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, Iraq, in the late 19th century. Sarcophagi in the Egyptian Serapeum. These massive granite tombs, weighing up to 70 tons, were built more than 3,000 years ago, starting from the 19th dynasty. The invention of the printing press. The printing press allowed ideas to spread exponentially and made books accessible to the masses. The Enlightenment and, as a result, the modern world would never have taken place without this device. The heroic act of Vasily Arkhipov, who saved the world from disaster. On October 27, 1962, Captain Second-Rank Vasily Arkhipov saved humanity. During a clash with the American military, he decided to make contact with the enemy and canceled the launch of a Soviet atomic torpedo from the B-59 submarine. Nixon's visit to China in 1972. It was with this event that the formation of the American-Chinese Unofficial Alliance began, which aimed to confront the USSR. A radar warning ignored before the attack on Pearl Harbor. Radar operators in Hawaii noticed the approach of Japanese aircraft on December 7, 1941, and reported it, but the warning was ignored. Irina Sendlerova, 1910–2008, secretly smuggled 2,500 Jewish children out of the Warsaw Ghetto during World War II. In October 1943, she was arrested, but she managed to hide the list of names and locations of the rescued children. After being tortured, she was sentenced to death, but the guards who accompanied her were bribed. According to the papers, the woman was listed as executed, but she continued to help the children. Lunch at a California school in 1942. The picture was taken shortly before Japanese Americans, including this boy, were sent to concentration camps during World War II. These measures were initiated by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in accordance with Decree No. 9066 after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The world's first webcam was created in 1991 by researchers from the University of Cambridge to check if the coffee pot in another room was empty. My great-grandfather won an Olympic medal in 1912. He finished 8th in the pole vault, and this award was given for his participation. An axe with a wooden handle was discovered in Redbyhavn, Denmark. It dates back to the Stone Age, about 5,500 years ago. Wine from Spire. It is 1,700 years old. A glass bottle was discovered in the grave of a Roman legionnaire in 1867. A mysterious Roman dodecahedron found in England. More than 100 such items have been found throughout Europe, but no one knows what they are for. The image shows one of the most eccentric firearms of the 19th century, a 48-round revolver designed and patented by Englishman Joseph Ensoy in 1855. This weapon represents an extremely rare case where the idea of increasing firepower has taken on a truly insane form. Unlike the classic revolver with a single drum, it uses several double drums mounted in 2 rows, combined with a complex system of gears and gears. With each cocking of the trigger, the entire system rotated synchronously, ensuring the sequential supply of each of the 48 charges. The design turned out to be so heavy and bulky that it was difficult to shoot from it, and almost impossible to carry it. It was more of an engineering experiment or an exhibition sample than a real weapon of war or self-defense. Despite the obvious drawbacks, this model has remained in the history of the arms industry as evidence of the desire for multi-barrel firepower in the era before the advent of rapid-fire systems. Today, such specimens are extremely rare, and are considered more as engineering curiosities. This strange piece, with some pretensions to elegance, is part of Prinzhorn's wonderful collection. It consists of a large number of works of art created by schizophrenic patients. Hans Prinzhorn, 1886 to 1933, was a German psychiatrist, collector and art historian of patients with mental disorders. He is one of the pioneers in the scientific study of drawing. This product is the work of Agnes Richter, 1844 to 1918. The woman worked as a seamstress. When she was over 50, she was admitted to a psychiatric hospital in Heidelberg at the request of her father and brothers after she had several acute bouts of delirium, where she spent the rest of her life. During her stay at the clinic, she embroidered this jacket with a biographical text. The jacket, made of brown wool and coarse linen, is covered with notes made in red, yellow, blue, orange, and white threads. The jacket has become an iconic item in the Prinzhorn collection in Heidelberg, a 16th-century welcome glass of the princes of Oettingen-Wallerstein, a small principality in the southern part of the Holy Roman Empire, north of the Danube. For 100 years, 32 people, often high-ranking guests, used a diamond point to stamp their names on a glass, often including titles, and sometimes an epigram, "I escaped, catch me and return it to Zonin for 1 gold coin." The only found tag of a Roman slave still attached to his collar, 3rd century. Diocletian's Thermae Museum, Rome. There is an extensive open-air gallery of ancient rock art in the area stretching for about 100 kilometers between Shatil and Raikot Bridge in Pakistan. There are more than 50,000 rock carvings and 5,000 inscriptions dating from the 9th century BC to the 16th century AD.